Sometimes some crimes go slipping through the cracks, but I'm here, and we're gonna have some discussion. So if you usually click away after like the first 30 or 60 seconds, give me a little bit longer on this one. You might have some fun today. I'm Mac from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is a review of Disney's Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, aka Mac reads Walt Disney Pictures' The Riot Act. Hi Disney. Hi guys. I'm here. First of all, I'm a blind film critic, so that's what makes my review unique. And I'd really love for people to like and share this particular video, because I'd really like for Disney to see it. That would be amazing. Secondarily, we're going to get into this audio description pretty quickly, where usually in the other films I like to describe it. This one I think is actually just more fun if you find out elements of it yourself, although I will slowly talk about what's in this film as we get into it. But the main reason I want to talk to you today is about the audio description for this film. First of all, I will say, if you seem to see that my mood is in a certain way, I just want to say I loved this film. Just to clear the air immediately, the film itself is amazing. Now, why Disney and I need to talk is the audio description is terrible. It's an abomination and it's offensive. And the fact that Disney is responsible for this audio description, which they are, because not only did they commission the audio description, but they set forth the terms for which the audio description had to follow, which are offensive. And this is the audio description that they decided that blind and visually impaired users of Disney Plus would be getting, which is offensive. I'm offended. Congratulations, Disney. You've offended me. And you've probably offended a lot of the blind and visually impaired audiences once they realize what they're actually missing. So, why should we be offended? Why does this audio description suck? That's a great question. If you've seen Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and you haven't noticed anything else on the internet, it's perhaps there's an opportunity here that maybe you didn't. Maybe you were just like, what is this guy doing? He's crazy. That was a great movie. The audio description was fine. There are dozens upon dozens of cameos meticulously added to this film from animated characters all over the range of animation. There are characters brought in from universes that you would not have expected to see in a Disney film. Characters from Big Mouth, characters from South Park, characters from other Disney films, just characters from everywhere. Just this film is crammed in. This film has been compared to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which did the same thing, where they walked into Toontown and you see Mickey and Bugs Bunny, and you're like, how are those two people in the same thing? Like, how is it even possible? This film does that. This film has McGruff the Crime Dog in it. This film has MC Scat Cat. It goes out of its way to pick these people for a reason. And you don't get any of that in the audio description. Visually abled people who can see, they get to see all of that. They get to have the fun of seeing all of those characters from all of those other movies and franchises interacting in the background, bumping into Chip 'n Dale. We don't get that. Instead, what we get are descriptions of what these characters look like, so that we can have like a guessing game as to which animated character that is, or go online and look up a review by a sighted person who will tell us what the cameos are, which is not something we should have to do. Audio description is supposed to level the playing field for blind people, so that when we watch a movie that we have as close to similar in experience as possible. And the fact that Disney would actually not only approve this audio description, but actually design it in such a way, which I know they did. Disney actually prevented the audio describers from using those other names. So it's not just that the people who wrote the audio description failed to include those names. They were actually prohibited from using those names, which is therein the problem. And how do I know that? Well, I've got Zipper flying around from the Rescue Rangers, and he told me. But that is so infuriating that I really don't know what to do with Disney right now, because in order to make that call, in order to make that choice, in order to tell your audio description company that you've hired to make an audio description and say, but don't use these character names, you're actually making a conscious decision to screw over blind people. And I don't like that. So I don't know what to do with Disney anymore. Maybe they're having some problems maintaining their, own governmental authority down at Disney World, and they decided, let's burn the house down. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but it's very disrespectful, and I will be letting Disney know. I will be finding a way, but I'd love for this video to trend. Of course, any YouTube creator would love for their video to trend, but I don't know how else Disney is going to see this. This is one of those times where I wish I did have 1 million followers, because then me dropping this video might get new audio description re-recorded for Chippendale Rescue Rangers, so that you can actually appreciate all of the work that the Lonely Island team went and put into Chippendale Rescue Rangers, that Akiva and Andy put into this film in the first place, to go out and the fact that they paid the rights to have all these characters included in the films, and then didn't want us to have the effect of knowing what's in the film, is just, it's bonkers to me. It's absolutely bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre to go out and acquire franchises you don't own for this film and then not let anybody know that they're in there. Like, why? We should know that the My Little Pony are in this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should know that these characters pop up in the background or bump into Chip and Dale, instead of just having them described. There's one awesome sequence where the character voiced by Seth Rogen bumps into every other character Seth Rogen has ever voiced in an animated feature. I think that scene is hilarious. You wouldn't know what those characters are, it's just, it's not described in the way that it should be. And that is the problem with this film, is just the utter lack of thought given to what a blind audience should be looking for from this film. I think people think we're such like a small percentage of the audience, that there aren't millions of people suffering from blind and visual impairment in this country. And then beyond that, the amount of people who use audio description just because. I know people who can see perfectly fine and use audio description and find it helpful to fill in gaps. A lot of people use audio description. It's just not, it's not this like fringe thing that, only affects one person who gets to watch the film. We use this. This is a thing that helps us get through the film, and Disney made this choice. And I'm both sickened and enraged. I literally had to re-record this video yesterday. I recorded it and I was angry and I was yelling. And now I'm recording it and I'm a little bit more calm because I know I'm right. And I don't need to have a strong emotion one way or another. I don't need to curse at Disney because I'm right and they're wrong. So it's a pretty powerful position to have, to be morally above in this conversation. The film itself is great. I had a great time with it. But the reality is that you, my blind and visually impaired subscribers, which is largely what I should have, if you're not and you can see, then great. I love you too. But for the blind and visually impaired subscribers that I have, you will want to end up, after this film, go onto the internet and try to find either, another YouTuber who's sighted who can describe to you all of the Easter eggs and cameos in this film, or look it up in some sort of a text list review like I did. I saw a bunch of the ones, Randy Marsh and Scrooge McDuck and a whole bunch of the other ones that just pop up in this film. I don't want to spoil all of them, but I've already spoiled a couple. But there are tons in this film, and you're gonna miss if they don't directly speak to Chip and Dale. Then it's likely you will not know who they are ever. If they do speak to Chip and Dale, but their name is not used, then it's also likely you will never figure out who they are, because there are characters that come into contact with Chip and Dale, and you won't get the reference. I do want to say that, for example, I'll use this as an example of just simply how something is described, and so the reference is lost. There's a scene where they're looking at cops, right? And they're trying to, there are cops on scene. And one of the things that this world does that it blends, and why it keeps getting compared to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, is it blends animation with the real world. And so one of the cops working the scene is a donut, which seems like just like a joke, right? It's just like a random joke. That character's from Wreck-It Ralph, from the candy sequence where King Candy and all that stuff. That's where that donut is from. It's actually from something. But if you didn't pick up on that reference, then you wouldn't know that, because it's just described as a donut cop. It's little things. So somebody took a lot of time to reach out to a lot of obscure, not just other franchises, but even Disney franchises, and bring these characters in. And it's amazing. It's amazing that these character names aren't used. There are some you'd have to recognize the voice. I don't want to spoil who the villain is to the movie, of the movie, but there's a scene where that character that's voiced by Will Arnett is sort of walking through, and another character from that franchise recognizes him, and they replicate that voice really well for that animated character. Name isn't mentioned. So if you're not familiar with the name of the character, you may not even get the reference. It's very, very disheartening. I can't even tell you how heartbroken I am. This is one of my favorite films I've seen in a while. This is the kind of film that I could see myself watching 10, 20 times, but I don't want to sit through this audio description again, because it just infuriates me. So Disney has ruined a perfectly good film by actively choosing to not provide coherent audio description for the film, by leaving us with the kind of experience that is not remotely the same as what your visually impaired friends are getting. Visually abled friends, not impaired. Visually abled friends are getting. Your friends who can see, they're getting a completely different experience, and that should bother you. Normally, we get pretty damn close when the audio description is good. This is not that. This is so not that. I once I fell down the rabbit hole and started reading all of these spoiler recaps of all of these things and realizing all of the stuff we've missed. It's I kind of feel sick, to be honest. I feel sick. I loved Rescue Rangers growing up as a kid. I used to race home after school, and I'm of the age group where we actually had that after school Disney block. And I used to watch, DuckTales and Chippendale Rescue Rangers and Tailspin and Goof Troop and Bonkers and Darkwing Duck and Gummy Bears and all of those, Disney afternoon shows. And like I can sing the theme songs, like most, if not all of them. And actually Darkwing Duck is my ringtone. I know it's nerdy and I have no way to prove it right now, but it's not Rescue Rangers, I'll admit that, but it is Darkwing Duck, so that's pretty close. So I walked into this film with some level of trepidation about, I don't know, are they going to do a good job? Or, I was nervous going into the film, but once I got into it and I just embraced it, I loved it. I know some people had commented on John Mulaney and Andy Samberg's voices being used for Chip and Dale instead of their original voices. They actually do use both. You will hear their original voices. It's just, it's sort of like to themselves, they sound normal, but to us, they sound like little chipmunks, if that makes any sense. So a lot of times when they zoom out and it's like Chip and Dale, it's like tiny little chipmunks. From like a human perspective, they sound like they're chipmunk selves, but when zoomed in, they are actually using like the voices, how they sound to themselves, I guess, is what the effect they're going for. I don't know how to describe that, but they just sound different. Zipper also has a voice that is hilarious. The voice work in this is great. I thought the direction by Akiva was great. I thought the vision he had for this film was great. It actually kind of has something to say, by the way, which is interesting. It's not just straight up like, let's remake Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And there are definitely some nods in this film, which are also left out of the audio description, by the way, to Roger Rabbit, which he wove into the film to try to get people to really see this film and embrace it for everything that it is and everything that it can be. And I'm really excited for the possibilities of this franchise if they actually agree to better audio description, if Disney agrees to better audio description. If not, please don't bother. Just leave this as a one-off. Or just revive the actual Rescue Rangers as they used to be. As much as I would love to revisit this world again, I don't want to sit through a second film full of the gimmicky cameos and know that Disney cares absolutely nothing about me, doesn't care about my blindness or anything, and actually selectively chooses to have awful audio description as an insulting way for me to have to watch this film. So, film is great. I recommend it. I know a lot of people, I've already talked to some people and I let them know, heads up, audio description is incredibly frustrating and terrible, but they're really looking forward to the film. I hope they have a great experience with it. And I guess, most of our lives are spent having to figure out a different way how to do things. So I guess we're all just supposed to learn how to Google who was in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers because Disney doesn't want us to know. That's why I wanted everybody to see this video and why I would love for it to be shared so that maybe somebody at Disney will see this video and see how incredibly heartbroken it is for somebody who's been a fan of this franchise for so many years to know how little Disney thinks of my fandom, of the fandom of all of these other franchises that they brought in, the fandom of Rescue Rangers, everything. Wow. I literally feel like I've been punched in the gut by Disney. It's pretty incredible. It's funny that it's been several hours, literally slept on this one, and I still feel terrible. That's the truth of the story. I feel terrible. Thanks, Disney, for that. I'm gonna give Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers an A, because I grade movies based on the content of the movie, not based on the audio description. And this is the most fun I've had with a movie. And I can't even imagine if I had had excellent audio description, I might have cried. Like this film might have just been, it is total fan service overload. It is everything. It's targeted like right at, I feel like this film was made for me in many ways. And I feel like it's made for the people of my generation, the people who grew up running home from school to watch Rescue Rangers. I don't know if it'll work for everybody. It'll be interesting to see if Rescue Rangers was not your thing, will you like this? If you're like under the age of 20 and you don't know what a Rescue Ranger is, will you find this film as interesting as the little bit older crowd that did grow up with this? So anyway, watch the old Rescue Rangers cartoons. They're also on Disney Plus, and I know they don't have audio description, but they're there. I haven't always been blind, so sometimes I just like to put things on in the background that just sort of give me that nostalgic feeling of sitting in front of the TV as a kid, and back when everything was okay, and the world made sense, and all you had to do was just play with your toys and watch cartoons. Those were the good old days. Anyway, thank you for sitting through this review. If you did, please like, subscribe, share, and tell Disney that this is unacceptable. I have more reviews at macthemovieguy.com. And as always, you can check out the audio description project for which films have audio description and where to watch them. And until next time, the next time we see Chip and Dale's Rescue Range, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Yep, I sang more of the theme song for you.